And my two guests today are Devanny Pinn. Hey, Devanny, and Brandon Slagle. How you guys doing? Or Bucky. Sorry, dude. Or not. Or please, just FYI, anybody who's seen the Pam and Tommy show, this is the this is the. I guess you could call Brandon the prototype of what they based. What's his name? Who played Tommy Lee in that? Because Brandon looks more like what's his name? Sebastian Stan looks more like Brandon in that than he does Tommy Lee. Sorry,
Yeah.
I just had to start with that. I actually
the Pinn and Tommy show.
Yeah, Pam and Brandon. No, I'm just kidding. No, just quick thing. I do have to quickly ask you guys because I meant to ask you, Brandon. I have if I bring up any trailers like about regarding some of the movies that I want to bring up the trailers at some point in the interview. Is there any problem like with music? Am I going to be good if I bring in the trailers? Any copyrights?
You should be totally fine.
You should be totally fine. Okay, just
Yeah.
double checking. Okay, now I'm going to ask you guys to introduce yourselves. I'll let ladies first, I guess, since Stephanie's the solo one here.
I'm Devanny Pinn. I'm an actress and producer, and as of last month, director. And I've been wanting to come on here and chat with you guys for a while, so I'm very excited about it. And want to give a shout out to our team over at Breakout, which we'll be talking about, which came out this week.
The cheetah is here.
Uh-oh.
Do I even ask? And Joe, this is our network head. Good evening, all. Thank you, Joe, for joining Gabe on the network this evening, Devanny and Brandon. Okay.
Hello, Joe. Pleasure to meet you.
Okay, go ahead, Brandon, and have Cheetah says Devanny and Brandon rule. The cheetah.
I am. My name is Bucky Barnes. I'm part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I have a huge bank account.
Oh my God. We're going to get sued. Break out that E&O insurance.
Yeah. My name is Brandon Slagle. I'm not related to Brian Slagle of Metal Blade Records. I used to act, sometimes badly. Now I direct, not badly anymore. And as of last year, I write a lot too. And I'm also a hip hop legend.
What the
Pardon her Tourette.
It's going great already. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm sorry in advance.
Don't apologize at all. This is what makes this is supposed to have fun. Just have fun with it. Anyway, okay, so I want to start. Hope you don't mind, Brandon, just because Devanny, it's a big thing with Devanny now. You were in Hollywood Reporter just last month, or just a few weeks ago, that you've been acting for a number of years. I remember all the way back when you had that small role in Piranha 3D.
Yeah.
With Stolberg, who I'm still waiting to hear back from to have on my show. But
get on you, Stolberg. Calling you out.
No, I'm just messing with him. No, he's a good guy.
Yes.
What's it called? So you had you're having your directorial debut, and Hollywood Reporter covered it, which is really freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Now, tell us a little bit about your upcoming movie, Black Mass, or what you can relay, of course.
I was gonna say it's hard to talk about this. So first of all, I want to give a shout out to Clint and October Coast PR for helping me get the initial word out on that. We got amazing coverage. Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, Rue Morgue, a bunch of amazing people helped us share the initial news. So I'm very thankful to that. Black Mass is a crime thriller, and it's a case that I have studied extensively, that I'm pretty passionate about. Those of you who saw an earlier movie that Brandon and I did called House of Manson, if that was kind of your jam, this will probably be right up your alley. It's a similar take and tone, but a different perspective, literally. And so part of the identity of the person we're following and the crime itself is actually a spoiler for the film. So I've only done one interview on it live so far. And I was like, how am I going to talk and promote this movie without giving away the experience of watching it? And so the best I can say is it's literally a 24-hour period in the day of the life of this particular serial killer. And so we literally almost step into his shoes as we are stalking and following, learning about his victims before ultimately engaging with them. It's a very different take than I think most serial killer or true crime movies have taken before. my goal with it is to have a different perspective, literally, and a different approach and take and focus on the victims, the people who they were, instead of being a blip in glorifying these people who commit these murders, who commit these crimes. I want the focus and the attention and the conversation to be more on the people that they target. And so this is a step in that direction.
So the POV, are you able to discuss, or I sort of relate it and discussed it, but I'm not sure the POV of the story. You can't say anything without spoiling anything, can you?
It's
difficult.
It's difficult to do, yes.
Okay.
I would love to let the first image of the movie speak for itself. So we are going to release a trailer soon here. It's premiering next month at March Tucon, the festival market there. And so I really, really, really want to encourage people to start checking it out. But as soon as we get the initial play on that, we are going to be way more vocal and visual about what we're going to share with the movie. So it is a very different kind of experience. It's the first time I'm stepping behind the camera. Thank you, Brandon Slagle, for not being convinced to do it and forcing me to have to take it on. And we'll see what we get. That's another shot. Hopefully you like it.
That's great. It's very exciting, and I love. You know, it's almost like I love the secrecy and the the skepticism of wanting to say anything about it. The less we know, the better, and the more when you gradually release information, it's almost that's how you market something. That's like one of the best marketing approaches. Just a quick thing. So first of all, I got to bring up Cheetah. He's trying to mess with you, Brandon. Again, I'm sorry. Just trying to change your company name. Again,
Cheetah Production.
Well, I mean, the good thing is for every movie you're supposed to have a new company, so who knows?
Yeah, be careful. You might get what you ask for on the next one.
I feel like Cheetah Productions doesn't sound too appetizing for people who don't want to be cheated in an industry where a lot of people get cheated. Pun intended.
Ooh.
Right? Isn't that?
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about in terms of that industry and its practices.
No, No, I was like, so good. Yesenia says, "Goody." This is a friend of mine, a charity I work with. She's actually Catwoman. Very nice to meet you both. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. For now, call me Catwoman. Okay. We have a very similar.
We got all the cats on this, literally.
Oh yeah. And Cheetah says, "October Coast rock."
Yes, they do absolutely. Thank you, October Coast.
And can't wait to see. I feel like all of us can't wait to see your vision.
Thank you very much. I it's a story I was really passionate about. I've wanted to tell it for almost a decade now. I also got to give a shout out to our distributor and financer, Cleopatra Records, Cleopatra Entertainment, for basically entrusting me with this. It's very, very hard to get a film developed and get the green light on it. They were a really wonderful partner, and they made the process very simple. I was all ready to make a big formal pitch for me as a director, my vision for it, and they really basically just said that they trust me, and that meant a lot. So I really working super hard on bringing this to everybody and making a big a splash as I possibly can, because I really want to reward them for taking a chance on a first-time director, a female director, and my passion project at that. So I'm very lucky, and I really love it. I really wanted to do it, so I hope that people who watch it enjoy it as well.
Question, because Cleopatra, they did also a lot of the 90s horror films, right? Because I just like that when you said the name, I'm like, wait, is that the same logo I'm thinking of with the name's animation? I'm like, I was just rewatching some of my old favorite 90s horror and thrillers, and I'm like, that name sounds very familiar.
Well, it's a good chance for Brandon to jump in here, because he's actually a fan of Cleopatra.
Really?
I don't know. I'm not aware of that they did any video releases in the 90s. However, 90s was college for me, and I guess early 90s was high school. So I listened to most of Cleopatra Records releases almost in real time. They were founded in what I believe the shirt said, 92, 93.
Yeah.
That's when their CEO, Brian Pereira, founded them. And they released most of the alternative, industrial, and goth music of the era. So they were one of my go-to labels back in the day. It's funny, anytime I actually go in there to talk about movies, because our movie Frost was through Cleopatra as well, Brian and I end up talking about music for hours on end. And a lot of the like really obscure releases that they did back in the day, like 30 years ago, he's like, you had that? Oh my God. So it's a little bit of wish fulfillment, I guess.
Yeah, Cheetah says Cleopatra is really starting to make noise now. Cleopatra did music only in the 90s.
Yeah.
For some reason, I recall seeing the animated, the studio animated opening from movies like I grew up on, or I remember watching like 20 years ago or so.
Yeah.
So I feel like they've been around in the film industry for longer than just a decade, because I've been seeing that for a while. I mean, I don't know.
It's possible it could be a similarly named label, or
but even
or maybe this is Mandela effect.
Yeah, you know what? That could be true. And what one of them is one of them is Shaq, and the other one is what's his name?
Sinbad.
Sinbad, yeah. No, because you know what? One of my favorite horror films from the 90s is, and because you worked with him on one of his last films, and he was in it, and the film happens to be Breakout. The late Tom Sizemore,
Yeah.
and The Relic was one of my favorite like action horrors from the 90s. Like that was like everybody grew up on like their first film was Saving Private Ryan. I saw The Relic before I saw Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to ask you about that.
One of his first leads too, where he wasn't like supporting like Natural Born Killers and so on.
Yes.
You know, I'll cut to the chase here, because when he was ill, there were so many articles that I thought were just completely distasteful that were mentioning that he was hospitalized and then going off into all the bullshit stuff about what he had dealt with in his life. So I'm going to skip all that, as a normal human should do. We had a really fantastic experience with Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just glad that we got to work with him, because you never know. So we basically had what I can imagine was a taste of his career in the 90s and 2000s. Like we saw that spark, that charisma, that nuance that, you know, as loud as a lot of people perceive him to be in movies, because his characters, you know, they're blabbers and they tell jokes and stuff a lot. He was great at just subtlety and really, really tiny things that really just speak volumes, more than dialogue. I think a lot of people, an easy frame of reference for a lot of people is that look that he gives in Heat when they're in the diner scene about 20 minutes into the movie, and the guy's looking over when De Niro is, you know, punishing Kevin Gage, basically. I remember Devanny seeing that movie, having never seen it before, was like, some of the best nonverbal acting I've ever seen.
Yeah. And
that's who Tom was. It was like effortless. I mean, yes, there's effort, but there was really just a certain delicacy in caring for the craft. Also, he was apparently very close friends with one of our close friends, Louis Mandylor, when Louis first came to LA. And we've heard a lot of stories about Louis and your buddy Costas that are not suited for air. Nothing terrible, just
all good.
Oh my God,
crazy Hollywood of the late 80s.
Listen, Darren almost, like, I was saying things about Costas, and Darren Bausman was said some things on the air, like, I was just cracking up because I feel like, yeah, that's totally Costas.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, Tom is like one of those actors, like, he could give a look and you could have like 50 different emotions, and he could have like 50 emotions in a single look on his face.
Yes.
I just watched for the first time recently, I'll admit this, Passenger 57, I think it was, with Wesley Snipes and him. And I
saw that in the theater.
Hey, I remember seeing Independence Day in theaters.
Yeah.
And
oh my God, I saw it in theaters on July 4th in New York City, and that was almost as amazing as seeing Transformers in the theater with a bunch of guys my age. It was
Jaws on the water.
Yes, yeah. It was madness, and everyone, the Statue of Liberty in the Hudson River got a standing ovation. Anyway, continue. I could go off into a million tangents.
No, please. Tangents are good, especially when it's regarding the industry. But I'm gonna. So I actually, what I want to do is, hold on a second. Well, Cheetah says Cleopatra Entertainment started in 2015. Always bet on black. Oh, I don't know what he means by that. Oh, it's probably like just a gambling reference. I'm sorry. I only do roulette, and I haven't done it since the Walking Dead cruise. So, yeah, and it's also just a small world thing. Before I go into the discussing Breakout with you guys, it's funny because you've worked with Louis Costas, and now what's his name who played Leo in Charmed, Brian Krause, who's great. And it's funny because all three of them were in Charmed together.
Yes.
And Louis and Costas played like brothers, and they are brothers.
Yeah.
And they I feel like every movie they're in together, they play brothers. I love that.
Actually, my friend Will Kaufman's movie Sinners and Saints, they're both in.
Yes.
Costas is the big bad. Louis plays an unrelated character, believe it or not.
I remember, well, his character gets killed off a little bit earlier on, and, and I thought they said they killed your brother or something, or maybe his friend. I thought they were playing brothers. But
you know what? Now I got to watch it again. And if for some reason Will Kaufman hears this, I'm sorry.
I'm tagging him in it, calling you
out.
Fine.
Hopefully, I'm calling myself out, so you don't have to. Your friend doesn't have to hold you accountable.
Well, I guess Louis bleaches his hair, and suddenly he's not a Mandalore. He's Malibu lore.
Well, Costas did that for one of his movies. I think that never got released. He had like sort of like a it was like a type. It wasn't Wolverine, but it was like something like Thundercat style weapon. Like it was like the skeleton Wolverine claw from X-Men or Wolverine Origins. Costas had like a poster. He actually gave me on my birthday one of his promo photos from it, but the movie was never released. But he looked like that. He bleached his hair completely white. So, yeah, completely. I mean, I've seen Louis with bleached hair. I've never seen him bleach his hair completely white.
It's all right, Costas. I've also dyed my hair for movies that never came out. Cheers, buddy.
Louis and I just missed each other in LA by like an hour. Like I was running late to Hollywood Boulevard and he was driving right where I usually hang out. And we were going to grab like coffee or something, he said, but he's and then Mike said, yeah, he's like probably out of there the next day because he's always traveling. Yeah. I'm still waiting on Smokers, Louis, if you're watching. I'm still waiting on him to release Smokers with Costas. So I just want to, I want to bring up the post. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Brandon.
Oh, nothing. I've heard things, but I cannot share.
All good. So I want to bring up the poster for Breakout. And I love this poster. And I actually didn't recognize Brian Krause more because of the hair. Like I've never seen him with hair like that. And he gives like he like it's funny because shortly before our show, I was watching an episode that my buddy, Mark Ralston. You know who Mark Ralston is?
Yes.
Hey, Wendy. So he's an old buddy of mine. We actually met up in LA my first few days there. And he was just in the new episode of Rookie the Feds. So I went to watch the episode. I didn't get to finish it because we had our show. So I told him I got to catch it right after because I want to finish it. But he plays the criminal masterminds in the new episode, basically controlling everything from prison, which is what I'm thinking of, like Brian Krause. He's like this. But like what I'm saying is Brian Krause is actually trying to break out. That's not,
That's
Mark
the name of the movie.
Pun intended. Yeah. But I by the way, you and I got to connect more because I love your dad's sense of humor.
Oh my God. It's all dad. Thank God he's a dad now. It's all dad jokes, I swear.
Yeah. Oh, you don't have kids to be a dad. You just got to have the dad jokes. That's me.
Dad jokes and sarcasm that are now qualified as dad.
Yeah, I have no kids that I know of. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the trailer for Breakout. You said I'm good to go with this, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So, yeah, for sure. I meant to ask earlier on. So so this stars Louis Mandalore, Brian Krause, any girls who grew up on Charmed. This is Leo, who everybody had a crush on. I'm sure Devanny, you probably did too.
Brian's a friend of mine, so it's weird to say that now, but we never talked about it. But yes, I did when I was growing up.
Okay, well, at least you don't have to say it to his face necessarily. At least face to face.
Just miss the video and tag him in it later.
Tom Sizemore, Mike Ferguson, and Brandon. You want to relay a few more of the names that?
There's Victor Di Mattia, who was in The Sandlot. There is Isaac Singleton, who's
Yeah.
been in
Right.
many, many movies. Big guy. There is our old friend Noel G, who I'd love to have on every movie if I could, just because he's just great energy and great spirits.
He's
I'd
Fast
love
and
to also not.
Furious.
Yes.
I'd love to not kill him in a movie. Are there other people in the movie? I think there may
We
be
said
some other
Christos,
people.
right? Who also stars
Oh,
in it.
Christos Andrews. He's the star of the soap opera The Bay. He recently appeared in our friend James Bressick's movie Survive the Game with Bruce Willis.
Yes.
Also, he's in a movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme coming out this year.
Yay.
Really?
Snaps for Christos.
I met Noel. Just a quick thing. I met Noel the year after, just under a year after what's his name passed away in the accident. What's his name from Fast and the Furious?
Paul Walker.
Paul. Yeah, Paul Walker. But no, such a nice guy. He always have that stank face, but then you start talking to him and he has
he's
smile. He looks serious, but he is the gentlest, sweetest guy.
Yes.
And I love that. That's like Costas. He almost never smiles for photos, but as soon as the camera's gone, he is the biggest character.
I got him to smile in photos. I'll send them to you.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I know, same, but it took a few years. Here's the trailer for Breakout.
Found your son. Found Vincent.
Where is he?
Well, see, that's the complicated part.
Where's my son?
Valverde State Prison.
He's in prison?
They're trying to pin the death of an undercover cop named Ramon Chavez on him.
Okay, wait, this prison, where is it?
California.
Copy that. Check's in the mail.
You were tried for 4 separate terrorist bombings. Why on earth would we approve you for parole?
Well, because I'm more dangerous inside than I am outside.
Sorry, trying to turn that off, and I actually turned it on again. I just really, until I looked at the cast, I did not recognize Brian.
Awesome. That's the biggest compliment, though. Like, you know, that was one of the first things that he told us too. You know, I wanted to work with, we're friends. I wanted to work with him for years. And, you know, because he is, you know, a good looking guy, and so iconic for the role he played on Charmed. He really kind of got typecast and stuck in a specific type of role, but
sexy dad role.
Sexy dad,
romantic rom-com, magic,
which he's all great. He like let's be real, he's really, really good at doing that. So that's why he gets a lot of offers for that. But Brandon and I, you know, I still act as well. Brandon comes from an acting background originally, so we like to give actors an opportunity to play against type. And we like to give them something meaty to work with and kind of let talented actors do what they do. And so he, you know, he was a little bit hesitant about it, but, and he was like, I'm not pretty right now. You know, my hair's, I was like, you know, Brandon was like, good. Yeah. You know, he didn't believe us that we wanted that for this role. And he just owns it, man. I knew he
looks
would.
maniacal. Like he looks like he looks like, what's the word? Refined type of criminal. Like the way his hair is just like, he's like, it's like a refined, like here, even Joe Ridgely says, he loved the line, like, cause I'm more dangerous inside than outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he is. And that's the thing is sometimes, you know, sometimes soap opera actors, sometimes, you know, really like beautiful people try to play rugged, try to play tough, but you see them playing a character. Brian, I thought, really went, all in on this. And not only does he do a good job with the performance, but I think physically, just in all aspects, he embodies it, and you believe it. That's why, that's why you don't see Brian Krause in this role. You see Max Chandler. You see the criminal mastermind, and it's really a testament to how incredible he is, and and
you start to go along with him
making it
too,
go.
you start to go along with him too, which are always the best bad guys, even if it's not something you inherently believe in and you would normally object to them. You're like, you know what? He's actually got some good ideas.
Yeah.
Because his conviction is strong.
It's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like sort of like Hannibal Lecter is one of those guys.
Love to hate and hate to love.
Yeah.
Cheetah actually. Oh, sorry. Cheetah said,
watching Silence of the Lambs when I was 13 made me into a cannibal for a short time. So I can personally attest to the effectiveness of that kind of charisma.
Hey, every fight is a food fight when you're a cannibal, and anybody who's fed up with people just remembers being fed up with people is the definition of cannibalism. You must have grown up. Devanny definitely grew up on this. Hannibal, Montanibal, like a cannibal, right?
That's right. Right.
Cheetah does make a good point. I love seeing actors go against their type. They seem to be working harder, and that's a good point because it's challenging, and the best actors like a challenge. In their roles.
Yes. Yeah. When you do something that you're used to doing, you phone it in a little bit, whether you intend to or not. It just becomes comfortable. It's what you're used to. What I've noticed when you give actors, good actors, an opportunity to do something different, they want to prove it to themselves as much as they want to prove it to the people who hired them and their audiences that they can do this job. It gets them thinking outside the box. It gets them having to be creative again. And when you have creative types who are channeling that energy efficiently, you get fascinating stuff. And then you throw in somebody like Brandon Slagle to capture it, and you really have a very engaged experience. I think that's what we achieved with Breakout.
Be careful when you're name dropping. He's right there. I'm just kidding. I know. Just by the way, I love what Cheetah's watching Human Centipede made me want to be a doctor. I mean,
amazing. That's the best thing I've ever heard, actually. Did you try it?
Cheetah, have you tried it? I'll wait for him to answer. Just quick, it's funny you say that because, Costas and Lewis have both been typecast, but they've also played other very different roles. Because Costas was in a lot of rom-coms and romantic he's these ladies' man.
Dreamboat,
and Jeremy Piven's breakout role. Costas played the jealous boyfriend with Sherilyn Fenn. I forgot the name of the movie. And Louis Mandylor, My Big Fat Greek Wedding. And he's also, he's also like, he was just in that movie, the two of the movies, The Debt Collector and The Debt Collectors, and then what's his name, who's been typecast, but in a good way, was in John Wick 4, and I almost didn't recognize him, and I thought that was awesome. What's his name?
Scott Adkins.
Yeah.
Yeah. We like Scott.
Yeah, I was clapping for him in the theater, and everyone's like, what are you doing?
Oh, we're very happy for him.
I still have to see John Wick 4.
We're indie kids, so we've watched him, over the years evolve into, he's always been a phenomenal fighter, obviously, but just really has started to come into his own on screen, and we're just so happy for him.
Especially that
he's happier when he signs on to one of Brandon's projects.
Really?
That hasn't been announced, so you can't say it.
I didn't say that it was happening. I'm just saying it would be cool if it did.
Oh, right. You tricked me.
Weep.
So well, we are live, but here. Cheetah saved the day. He says Scott Adkins needs a John Wick role. You know what? You're right.
He does, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I will say The Debt Collector is something that I think really, for one, it got Lewis in front of more people's eyes and really got people to take him seriously as a bankable action star, even though he'd been doing that for years.
Yeah.
And people looked at Scott like, wow, he can act. He can really act too. And so much of it is because of the relationship between the two of them and Jesse, the director. Yeah. They had this very organic relationship, and it made something that I think is kind of transcendent and really special.
Absolutely. Yes. Very special picture.
And also it was number one on number one. It was like one of the top 10 on Netflix for a while, The Debt Collector, which is big.
I mean, as it should be. It's...
Joe's ears were clogged, so I think we're good. At least Fire Networks had Neckward heads when you when that the bomb wasn't dropped. Sorry, continue, Brandon. Oh, Brandon froze.
Uh-oh.
Are you on the East Coast, Brandon? Is that why you froze? It's getting cold here. It may be spring, but like today we had a chilly day. It's fine. He'll be back. Devanny, let's not drop any bombs in the meantime. Just kidding. So Breakout looks amazing. I can't wait, and I know it's out. I still have to watch it. I'm so behind. I did recently watch Death Count, by the way.
Hey.
And I thought it was hilarious. Not necessarily just that they typecast Costas in that, but the fact that there were so many Saw jokes that Michael Madsen was making throughout the film. It was
the thing of it is like, you know, it was, we shot it during COVID. So we all actually filmed separately. And I love that the filmmakers and the actors who signed on to play pretty much themselves, their characters, they were all in on it. Like, you know, a lot of times you have people or elements in a movie and you can tell that the filmmakers, the writers, the actors are like fans of certain elements, but they try to like make it organic in there and it's very obvious. I love it on this. Everyone was just straight up like, I'm a fan of this and let's just, you know, cash it on that. I mean, all the way down to Costas and Michael Madsen, they were in on the fact that, you know, we're making a Saw fan film, frankly. And, you know, and so they all had fun with it. You know, we all had a great time.
Question, was that Sarah who played the star role? Sarah French?
Sarah French.
I knew I recognized. I met her where you and I first finally officially met, and I wish you could have met it, Brandon. I know you were busy, but it was like I know Devanny. We've been speaking for years, but it was nice to finally meet you face to face.
Yes.
And Sarah was great, and it's funny because Johnny. Just a side note, Johnny not Vinokur is Johnny Vinokur, who's one of the guys there, is from my neighborhood, Small World, and what's his name? The other one who was running it with Shannon Lucier. What's Johnny? I feel terrible. Paisan, if you're watching, please forgive me. One of the other guys, one of the other heads of the Dark Ronin part of the Halloween Honest is from Howard Beach, where my mother grew up in New York. Very small world. So it's a very small world. What's it called? Hold on a second. Great example of playing against type was Devanny in The Dawn. I was just about to bring up The Dawn. I did first want to bring up, there was I saved a screenshot of you from, and I think I forgot to bring it in from I need to find it. But The Dawn, I think that was the first film of yours, Brandon, that I got to see in theaters. And I loved
the first one in theaters, so I hope so.
No, but I loved what you guys did, that you went around to theaters when it was playing, because I was hoping, like, I kept on looking over my shoulder, not just because it was like dark and I was because it was like, I think I told you I went to like in a really bad part of Brooklyn very late at night.
Bless you for that.
That was the only place, the closest place that was playing it that wasn't upstate or something. And I was looking over my shoulder for one, that I was alone, if not that I was still, no killer was behind.
You're not really in a horror movie, just watch one.
Too. and two, like, God, I hope Devanny and Brandon walk in, because I'm so I feel I'd be more creeped out. I'd be less creeped out if the creepy star of the movie, you know, was right behind, the possessed star of the movie is right behind me, than if I was there completely alone. But can I tell you something? And that was very, you know, because everybody's saying, oh, they're doing all these nun things because the nun Conjuring movies. Can I tell you something? This wasn't your typical nun ripoff style horror movie. It had a whole other purpose.
Yeah.
Which is what I loved. And not only that, felt like a memento element.
There is a little bit. Yes. I love that you kind of picked up on that.
Yes. With a connection.
Maybe the first person, actually.
Yeah, you might. I think you are. It's actually been a topic of discussion a lot, with all the different subdued themes in this movie, and there are a lot of them. You could probably watch it 50 times. I don't recommend it, but you could probably watch it 50 times and see different themes each time. And the cool thing about The Dawn originally, which we talked about, is, you know, it's it's not just one movie. You can actually watch it as a completed movie several different ways. If you start from start to finish, you can watch it as a crime thriller. You can watch it as a psychological thriller. You can watch it as a straight horror movie. You can watch it as a drama. There is literally an entirely unique experience every time you watch it, depending on the viewer and who and what they are when they go into the film. So it's a really unique experience with it, under the guise of a stereotypical nun movie. It's very much not. So it's something I'm very proud of, and I'm glad so many people embrace it as much as they did. Unfortunately, the pandemic cut it short. You know, we had a wide theatrical release in a lot of different territories, and you know, theater shut down. But so I'm glad that it still got the traction that it did before a lot of that happened. And
it calls for numerous viewings. It calls for numerous viewings. It really does.
Yeah. It's not like a normal sit down and have a good time, like Ready or Not style with a horror movie. So if that's what you want, you're not going to like it.
No, there's nothing about other nun movies for the sit down and have a good time. In fact, nude nuns with big guns, different nun movie. If you really want, you know, that kind of a good time, there's one for that too. Don't worry.
Well, the Dawn was a total mindfuck, and that twist at the end that. I'm not going to say anything, but I'll say that historical connection was very cool. Was like something because what I loved about it is it didn't necessarily have to do with much any other part of the movie, but it still made sense.
Yeah.
In terms of like it's an interesting connection.
What's pretty cool about it too is like it's so subtle that when it does get to the end, pretty much everyone was like, I didn't see that coming.
Nobody
But then
would.
everybody, if you go back and watch it again, it's one of those viewing experience variations that if you watch again knowing that, you see a lot of things that were kind of throwaway or that didn't quite make sense or you weren't quite sure. It fits into that storyline precisely. So again, it becomes yet a whole nother, it can be watched as a prequel to a franchise. Spoilers.
Yes.
So there's a million different ways to watch the movie depending on what you go into it with.
Well, yeah. So maybe if you on Google should actually count it as one of the installments of that.
Technically, I've actually been seeing a lot of lists and stuff for. I know exactly what you're talking about for that thing. There's a lot of lists going on about that, and I keep wanting to be like, oh, but I can't say it without spoiling it for people who haven't watched it yet. So again, it's one of those things where if you know, and you don't, that it's
I think it's better not put in those lists with some of the other rando movies that are
because we all have friends who are going to be in some of those really wacky spin-offs and
friends.
Co-stars. I have a friend who's doing one now of those more like, I don't know, it's more trauma-esque if anything. So that's all you need to hear. All you need to know to realize.
Like I said, there's something for everybody out there, which is awesome.
Yeah.
My friend Yesenia said, I'm watching it tonight. Found it.
Let me know what you think.
Yeah, Yesenia, let us. Yeah. I don't think she'll finish it by the end of our show, but I want her to check it out. The Dawn is very good. Yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I did not. I like movies with a twist that's the greatest movies are. I don't know. It's like I never have one favorite type of movie, nor do I have one favorite type of twist or way that appreciate a way to appreciate a movie and how it delivers twists. Like there are movies I despise, but I could still acknowledge, or TV shows like I love. Oh, great writing, great acting, great cinematography, great performances, great storytelling. I don't have to love the movie or the show. Then there are movies I love, but that was a continuity error. There, flows like I'm really watching like blockbuster movies. I like literally like some of my favorite movies, and I'm catching. And also, I'm a video editor, so also I can't help but catch.
So you see all the stuff,
continuity stuff. And the problem is because I'm an editor, like I hate perfectionism as an audience member. I can't stand when people let perfectionism block their ability to appreciate stuff in a film. When I edit, though, I'm a fucking perfectionist.
Yeah,
when I'm working, but like when I'm
I've done QC for major studios on probably 600 movies. So it is impossible for me not to see errors. I I keep two brains about things, and I still enjoy movies. And actually, you bring up a very good point. Like this, in this day and age, a lot of people want everything black and white or kind of in a container. They're like, worst movie ever, best movie ever. Well, how many worst movie
Total
ever?
trash.
Yeah.
Masterpiece.
When in reality, most movies, like if you don't like a movie, it's really like a 6, not a -10 or something. Yeah. But anyway, I totally get what you mean, because I can't not see things. Yeah. But I've done it long enough to where I don't hold anything against the movie itself, because it's probably like that because it flows better than if, you put something that was seamless in editing, like two hands like this, and the next thing they're this.
Yeah.
And the flow's thrown off.
Yeah. My friend agrees. Yeah. My friend Yesenia agrees. Actually, it's funny you say that also, because Darren Lynn Bousman, and you probably definitely know this too as a filmmaker yourself, and definitely I feel like you already have, or you already know this, or you will even more now that you're going to be a director, you're officially a director. Darren Lynn Bousman, when I had him on the show, Saw director, he was talking about how a lot of these films people go to see, a lot of these films that or the franchises, there's a lot of scenes and story elements cut, because of whether it be the MPAA or this has to be a certain length.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that are whether it be plot holes or small things that are never explained that were filmed but had to be cut from the final edit. Yeah. So like all these fans saying, when are we going to find out this? Like it's already been explained. It just hasn't been released publicly. And
you know who gets blamed for that?
The director.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Oh, Brandon's terrible storytelling. Blah, blah, blah. Worst movie ever. Letterbox.
I like being the producer.
Yeah.
Get to make all the calls, and if it doesn't work out, it's blame the director. It's fine.
Yeah. But it's very true, and it's unfortunate because, and I think Darren said that there was no Saw movie under 100 minutes. I think the only one that was like an 105 minutes was Saw 3. But like he was saying on the show that the original Spiral, I don't know if you guys have seen Spiral, the 9th Saw film. Originally, it was like 45 minutes longer, like over 2 hours, but they had to cut. But as you know, I'm sure Brandon, I feel like you both definitely know this. All the Saw films had to be edited a number of times to make the R rating, for the MPAA. The 9th one, the one with Chris Rock and Sam Jackson that Darren directed, had to be cut the most. But even if you don't have theatrical release, you probably have to deal with like that whole MPAA rating system. Do you guys?
I mean, again, the stuff that I do, as indies, that's one of the cool things about doing it outside the studio is. You don't have to deal with that. The more extreme it is, the more fans seek it out, the more they support you on it. So, when you're making a movie for the masses, you have to really, you have to censor for the masses. But if you're making a fucking torture movie, like
Terrifier is probably one of those.
Exactly. That's what I love. I keep championing Terrifier. Those guys are great over there. But
David and Damien,
I love it because it knew what it was. It didn't shy away from what it was. It didn't try to play nice with the powers that be in there. It said, fuck you, this is what we are. And fans showed up to support it. And now the business side, which I've always had to fight as a genre filmmaker, as a genre actress, I've always had to fight the business side of it. For the first time ever, they're kind of shutting up. They're kind of seeking out the more extreme content. They're kind of, as much as they don't personally like it, so it didn't get made for a long time, they now know how profitable it can be. They know that fans want it. And so there's no discussion anymore. There's no pretending like that's not really the case, even though they knew it was. And it's so overwhelming in a time when the rest of the market is very shaky and they're really kind of desperate for a guaranteed hit. And so there is so much genre being brought into the mainstream right now. It's really an exciting time. And I just the guys over, at Cinedigm, the guys over at Fathom Events, the guys over at Bloody, thank you. On behalf of indie horror filmmakers, fucking thank you so much, because you are making our job so much easier.
Yeah. I will say that I've been in a lot of distribution meetings with companies where someone would literally just kick back and say, well, I don't like gore, so we're not putting it out.
Not for you, dude.
Yeah.
It's for
When-
the awesome fans that are actually supporting the business. Yeah.
Personal feelings and professional, decisions should not, or corporate decisions should not
Yeah.
have anything to do with each other.
Well, and likewise, since you're talking about it, I also feel that whatever type of movie it is should be what it is. For instance, I had a movie. We have a cameo here.
Oh,
yeah.
Does he want some screen time? I'm just kidding.
It's a she.
She. Sorry, my bad.
I don't let her have screen time.
Smart.
Anyway,
Father.
so you should put the content in the movie that it takes to make the right movie. One of my action movies last year, Battle for Saipan, which is an action movie set against World War II, got an R rating. It was never meant to have an NC-17 or anything. It was meant to, be what it needed to be without trying to make an army joke. So it wouldn't have made sense if I put content in it like Terrifier 2.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, use what you can to tell the best story.
Yeah.
That's the movie I want to see again. And I actually brought up the trailer because this is a type of movie. This is the type of war movie that we're slowly getting more of in recent years.
I wish the trailer, real quick, had more of Lewis's and Casper. Casper's actually very underrated martial arts as well. He trains with his friend Mark Dacascos, who's his sensei.
I'm seeing Mark next week, by the way.
They're very close friends, so make sure to make some Casper jokes. Anyway, I like the trailer, but I don't like that 80% of the action in it is hand-to-hand, and none of that is in the trailer.
Really?
So I think some people that want a very true-to-life historical war movie aren't going to dig it. But if you go in looking for a kick-ass The Raid in Saipan action movie, then it's your thing.
Oh, The Raid. I think I saw you post about The Raid before. The Raid movies are the number one action movies and I love American action depending on the movie. I saw the first Raid in theaters. I wasn't even into martial arts before The Raid. I fell in love with it after that movie. And the second one, I had friends who would only watch those movies. They did what I did at the end of the second one at that final kitchen scene. They were jumping out of their fucking seats. I was jumping out of my seat. Like, this is like, it's like you have an adrenaline rush in the fight scene. You're watching the fight scene. But so also I wanted to mention was you also announced, and I didn't know this, or I think another friend of Casper's, maybe it was you guys, that his daughter was one of the stars of Stranger Things season 4.
Yes, in the opening, first episode.
Yes,
she definitely made an impression.
Or something made an impression in her limbs. Yeah. But yes, Casper, if you're watching this, please know I'm talking about the scene, nothing else.
He may actually be watching. He actually peeks in on things.
We love the Vandians.
I just want to say, my friend Josie says, relatable. Regarding what we were talking about, in my profession, it's a challenge. Nothing is perfect, and that's all good. However, it's easy to fall into perfection when you take pride in the work we all do.
Oh, I love that.
Yesenia works in a charity I work with, but she's also works in the medical field. And she's I believe a nurse. You could correct me if I'm wrong, Yesenia. And I'm involved in a charity where she's Catwoman. My friend's Batman. He founded this charity. I think your friend's on Facebook, Devanny. My friend Josh Arie, Smiles to Cars. So we go around. I'm the cameraman for them. They visit kids in the hospital, work with the NYPD and Make-A-Wish Foundation. So she's always
so wonderful. I love that.
Yeah, we were in what's it called? Forbes last year. So my photos were featured in Forbes, which was cool.
Hey,
yeah, and. CJ is a Casper fan. He came with a real good Casper joke. I'll send it. So just so FYI, Yesenia, we're not talking about Casper the Friendly Ghost. We're talking about Casper Van Dien, the star of Starship Troopers and Battle for Saipan. So Saipan. Sorry. So
I'm gonna to relight here. The sun literally just went down in real time, and I'm like, I spray tan, but it's not this dark. So hold on 1 second. I gotta
I'm holding, and I'm gonna play the trailer for Battle for.
Oh, good. Okay, so when we come back, I'm gonna be lit. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be lit, yo.
I was waiting for somebody else to say that.
That's why I did it, to prevent
Bad
other people.
jokes. All right, and go.
Take cover! We have a situation. We were ambushed. There's gonna be an attack on this facility. Ready, your men?
We're understaffed and we're knee-deep in wounded guys. Some of them can't even walk.
Everybody does their part.
As a surgeon, we don't arm ourselves during battle.
Whoever can fight, fights. Catching up, kids, it's a lot different to witnessing combat. You don't know what's coming.
So we just sit here and die?
No, we keep fighting.
You're soldiers! Arm yourselves!
I do have to apologize because I exported a 4K video and it compressed it when I uploaded it. Just a side note. But no, that I have to watch it again. It's been a while, but I love the cat. Jeff Fahey also. I forgot.
Yeah.
But it's like an underdog war story. You know, because they're like, and those are the type of war. It's like I love those. I love those type of stories because it's like a David and Goliath type of thing.
And I think I just want to give a shout out to Casper. I know we were just talking about him. I think that he's so great in this. I think it's also against type a little bit, and I think that he really showed some incredible range in this, and it's a really great performance. And Jeff Fahey is like larger than life too.
He told me, Casper, that it was the first time he actually got to play an East Coaster, which he is. He's from Paramus, New Jersey, and. Yeah, the character's from Staten Island, but yeah, it's the only time he's gotten to use his natural accent, which slips out sometimes when you talk to him casually.
You mean his Jersey accent?
The Jersey accent, yeah.
Yes.
Well, you got to remember, New York and Jersey are pretty much neighbors, so.
That's right.
I just want to quickly, my friend Yesenia confirmed. She says, "I'm a CMA, trained in deceased organ donation."
Wow.
And yeah, she's presently shifting careers, working with young adults in foster care, focused on mental health and planning. Now, it's interesting you say that, Yesenia, because The Dawn, which you're going to check out,
that's awesome.
Your character does, in a sense, and she's an undercover New Yorker, aren't we all in this state? But also, Devanny, that's The Dawn. Her character, no spoilers necessarily, but her character does battle mental health.
Yes.
Dawn's character, and it's also another thing you could look at it. You could look at it as a mental health person's, like, a thriller, a horror, and then you could look at it. Oh, this mental health story.
Yeah.
You know,
very much so.
Yeah. When she said that, I'm like,
we really leave it open in that capacity. You know, I like to tell paranormal stories more open-endedly, because I think there's a lot of room for additional elements within that and the origin of what you're investigating and what you're experiencing. And that's one of the first things. Shout out to the Ghost Hunters guys who we've worked with in the past. That's the first thing that they'll ask about and debunk when investigating paranormal activity is, you know, if there's a history of mental health or you know, hallucinations, visions, experiences. And so that's one of the things in The Dawn is it leaves open-ended if she's experiencing elements of paranormal or paranoia, frankly.
Yeah. I think it makes it more relatable to people because they can decide for themselves what the story is really about.
Exactly. That's part of the viewing experience. The individual viewer kind of tells you what genre you're watching.
Yeah. Somebody says hey.
Hey.
SL7. Hey, Patrick. I don't know who's
Patrick is Cheetah.
Patrick is Cheetah. Oh, okay. Okay. And also, I just want. Oh, what's the other thing is? about the Dawn. There's another thing I was going to say, and I'm trying to remember now. But I'm seeing Stacey Dash and Mark Dacascos next week, so I might have to talk to you guys to give me some things to joke about when I see them.
Jonathan Bennett was great on set. First of all, he has a wonderful energy. He's someone also who played against Type, and that was one of the appealing things for him. Is he had said, he gets very typecast on for Mean Girls, and
Jonathan Bennett. Yeah. Sorry, you launched into that like it was Mark Dacascos that was in it.
Yeah, I was like,
oh no. Although I'm sure that Mark Dacascos is absolutely a Cake Wars fan and a Mean Girls fan. I bet that he absolutely is.
You're talking about Stacey.
Yeah. I think he had daughters.
Jonathan Bennett was great on that. He liked the project and wanted to do more darker roles because it's not something that he gets offered very often. And so he really enjoyed that. He was great working with our younger actors in the beginning of that. He was sharing tips and tricks of the trade and on-camera experiences, and ironically plugging his Mean Girls cookbook. So it was a really weird shooting day, actually. I would love to hear what he has to say about
Was that October 3rd?
What?
Was that day October 3rd?
Right. Thank you. Yes, very good. Very good. See, I told you, everyone's a Mean Girls fan. I don't care what you say.
I'm not necessarily a Mean Girls fan. It's one of the most quotable movies out there.
Yeah.
Like, I remember one day, there's a Jewish holiday called Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
And one year, Yom Kippur fell out on October 3rd. So somebody Jewish had to make the meme. What day is it? And like Lindsay Lohan's like, what day is it? Lindsay Lohan's like, it's Yom Kippur. Like, it was like so perfect. What's it called? But Stacey, I want Stacey to be clueless to the jokes, like whatever inside jokes that come up.
There's so many dad jokes happening on this thing. I don't just know what to do with it. Stacey also great. She's someone also who doesn't get a lot of opportunities to do these. We were really glad to have her. She actually came on and did it, ironically, because she is a Christian. She's very religious, and so she liked the subject material, and that kind of spoke to her. And obviously a fan of. I didn't plan to put a bunch of teeny bopper stars, and it just kind of worked out that way. But again, all playing against Type, really, really interesting experience. And Stacey,
she seems really cool.
She was trying to do such this amazing dramatic performance, and I was like creeper on her. Like, we'd be doing the scene together, and I'd be like lost in her eyes. Like, she's such a beautiful human.
Yeah.
Like, and
even now,
even in a nun outfit, I was like.
But like, she's still that girl from Clueless to all of us.
She has not aged a single moment.
No, she is smoking hot. And I'm so sorry, Miss Stash. I'm sorry. Like, she's like the nicest, most reserved person ever, but she is ridiculously attractive. And even in a nun outfit, I was like, you're so good looking.
Actually, so to share a forgotten story, it was going to be full of teen idols no matter what. Because the reason that we got Jonathan Bennett was because we had multiple emails going with Scotty, the casting director, and we got an email saying that Luke Goss had accepted the role of the Exorcist.
Yes.
And simultaneously we got an email saying that Jonathan Bennett had accepted the role of the father. But it could be only one or the other in terms of the budget. We'd been trying to get Luke on it. We both know him a little bit. And we said, yes, absolutely, to the Jonathan Bennett email. So
you responded to the wrong email, the correct answer.
But regardless,
I'm happy with how it worked out.
Not everyone remembers that Luke was a teen idol in Europe, in Brass, which Devanny loved the documentary.
That was ridiculous.
It was him and Matt fighting the whole time.
That was so weird. Yeah.
Brendan, you responded to that, you said?
I think you did.
You, Devanny?
I don't remember. So,
well, no, the reason I ask is
pre-pro, some of the movies that we had done up until this point had very, very limited budgets, and so it was really us playing like a lot of different.
I wasn't trying to ask you.
And so we don't sleep very much during pre-pro, so it's all kind of a blur.
I wasn't asking you to throw But I wasn't asking you to throw each other under the bus. I was just gonna make a joke, and you went
I'm
on
not
to
saying anything.
follow up. I was gonna say, it's like, is one of you naturally blonde or Polish? Because I make this joke that I am Polish.
I was blonde in the next one. Absolutely. So it was brunette in this one.
So so you have to say I'm Polish. So I say I'm the male equivalent of a blonde. So, and I hate it when people radio type us as dumb. Get it? Radio, stereo. Anyway,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, at least you're not monotyped.
Dad joke book from just this podcast.
Oh, my Facebook is a book of dad. My Facebook is a book of dad jokes. You guys know this.
It is actually. Yeah, it is.
No, but Stacy, I'm looking forward to meeting. Oh, what's a Cheetah says? Aren't they rebooting Clueless? If they do, I hope they bring back Stacy.
They should bring back. Yeah.
And it's oh no, I'm thinking of Legally Blonde. It's funny because I always would mix up Clueless and Legally Blonde because it was never my thing as a kid, but it was my sisters and all the girls I knew stuff.
Yeah, it's just all of our generation.
Yeah.
Shameful.
But it's funny because I know one of the stars of Legally Blonde, Reese Witherspoon's friend, was in Saw 5 and 6 with Costas.
Yes.
What's her name? Lamoli, Samantha Lamoli. And it's funny, I don't know, I doubt they're related, but anything's possible. I had a teacher in high school with the last name Lamoli. Or is it middle school? I don't remember.
Lamoli.
All of us Italians are related.
You don't have to have Jews and Italians are probably related too, because I have friends who are Italian feel like they're Jewish by proxy. Also, there's a great joke I told my friend in college who's Italian. And the joke is, what's the difference between an Italian mother and a Jewish mother? Italian mother says, finish your meal or I'll kill you. Jewish mother says, finish your meal or I'll kill myself. And she said, no, an Italian mother would say that too, but she laughed first. But I have crust issues, even if I'm not Italian, so. Yeah.
That's completely true, actually. In fact, I think they've said, I have a Jewish grandmother and I'm Italian, so I think I've heard all of the above, like at the same dinner table.
There's like this, we know those drawing cartoons of like, not political, but they're drawing like political. So it has like the Yiddish mother, and she's like walking in the doorway, but because of her hair, the shadow looks like Darth Vader. It says, "I am your mother."
Stop.
So no, but I just want to bring up. Hold on a second. Well, I like this. I hope you don't mind. I went on your Facebook. I had to get some BTS shots, and I love this BTS shot of you in the door. Well, that is you, right? That was after you were anointed. You became a nun. I don't know. Brandon. I love this sort of profile shot of you. And I remember I told you I met what's her name a few years ago, and I have to rewatch this. It's funny because I think this was the Baldwin brother who was supposed to be him and his brothers released a movie at a film festival I worked at by me, but they weren't able to attend. I think it was Dan. It was Steve. No, maybe it was Steven Baldwin. But yeah, the crossbreed. Vivica's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
But I think I brought in. I love that the photo of you guys. Well, Brandon and Vivica and Daniel at the black carpet there, red carpet. Yeah. And I gotta say, as silly as it is, it's too much fun. And I know it's a small role for you back then, Devanny, but bus party to hell was just so
fun.
So fun.
Yeah.
There is a movie and Tara Reid, I've met her before. She seems like a lot of fun as well, in general.
She definitely is. Yeah.
And it's funny because Natasha Lyonne grew up in Great Neck by me, and her and her parents got their Shabbos food from my father every week when she was a little girl. That's small
so
world.
Cool.
Yeah, right.
Gosh.
And my friend's friend dated her. Another friend went to seminary with her. Small world. But there is one movie you did that I'm afraid to watch more, and it's a horror movie, but it's more real life horror, and I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about because it's Frozen, not Frozen, yeah. Frost. Sorry.
The darker Frozen. Yeah, sorry. Not Frozen.
But first of all, let me back up. When my friends were talking about the Disney's Frozen, I love Frozen. I'm like, to me, I was thinking of Adam Green's Frozen. Like,
right,
wait a
minute.
My friends don't like horror. Why do you guys talking about how much you love Frozen? I realized they're talking about they're talking about Disney's Frozen. I know this was back in like 2000, I don't know, 14, 13.
That one's, but Adam Green's Frozen, I think it's a masterpiece. I love it.
It's scary. Yeah,
it's his best movie.
Absolutely, love that movie.
But Frost takes it to another level where when you realize I'm afraid to fucking watch this because this looks like it's going to be like the Donner Party and I'm afraid. I watched the trailer. I'm like, it looks like it's like one of your best performances, but Devanny. But I'll admit that I'm so terrified to watch it because I'm afraid to,
Dark.
especially after last year. So I can't watch it after that last scene in the trailer. It just feels too, and plus because I just had another baby cousin born and all this, so I can't watch that.
It honestly is very triggering. So I always know people watch it. I mean, I got messages as recently as yesterday, people who are watching it and wanting to discuss it. And I always know they did because I get a message like, wow, that's generally the go-to.
And like 25 exclamation points.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is very triggering. It is extreme horror. It's hard to watch, and pretty much nobody sees the end coming, and it's been very polarizing. So the response, even though it definitely was overwhelmingly positive, it's very split in the middle. Like either you absolutely hated it and think that we're like terrible, triggering, horrible people, or they think it's one of the best movies they've ever seen. And there really isn't any in between. And with the subject matter, it really shouldn't be. It is a true story. And so that kind of, and that's the other thing too, is it generally sells itself. It's been making its way through the horror community and through, the underground message boards and clubs, and people are word of mouth referring it. So it's continuing to keep itself going. But it is one of the more extreme things, and literally, whether you loved it or hate it, nobody has been able to say that it hasn't impacted them.
Yeah. I think something that I was saying during the when it came out during the interviews is both reactions are correct.
Yes. And I definitely tell anybody, if you're not into extreme horror, then this is not for you. It was a pretty intense performance. I am proud of it. I did it. I really was pregnant. 6 and 9 months pregnant doing this. Not recommended, by the way. Anyone who's a performer, don't do a survival movie pregnant. And so I'm very proud of what we accomplished on it. And we did it like on a micro budget with a micro crew during lockdowns at COVID. So it is an accomplishment that I'm very proud of. But I tell everybody who wants to watch it to support us or is just curious about it, if you're not into extremes, it's not for you.
I remember my mom told me that she got the Blu-ray and she was all, yeah, that comes Wednesday. Don't watch it. Leave it.
Thank you for your support, Mom. Don't watch it.
I already know that I'm not watching it. But can I tell you something? For me, it's never like, oh, this type of horror movie meets another type of horror movie necessarily. And for me, some horror movies are less horror movies, they're more psychological thrillers. Like for me, the Saw movies are not horror. Yes, they fall in the horror genre, but a psychological thriller does really fall under horror genres like Silence of the Lambs, 7.
Absolutely.
But it's not necessarily a horror film. Like even when they brought it to Lionsgate said, you have to call this horror. If you call it a psychological thriller, nobody's going to see it. Though it is a psychological thriller, it's broadly known as a horror. But for me, real life horror is more horror. War movies are more horror and horrific than horror movies because the horror movies are fake. Unless you're like a little kid who can differentiate reality from supernatural stuff and stuff, even horror that isn't supernatural. But the thing is that for me, extreme horror, I can either take or I can't, but I won't necessarily know unless I watch it necessarily because Frost, I watched the trailer and I'm already like, this looks like one of Devanny's greatest works, but I'm terrified. There's certain, like, for example, I don't know if you've seen Hereditary.
Yes.
I think it's an absolute horror masterpiece. I will never watch that film again. Mm-hmm. It's like Requiem for a Dream, or there's like certain movies you will admit are absolute masterpieces, but you cannot stomach it a second time. But Hereditary, for me, before it even got to the supernatural element, because for me, as somebody who's dealt with suicide, who've lost friends to suicide, who are friends who've lost their own kids to suicide and relatives to suicide, I can't. That scene with the thing with Millie Shapiro's character, Like, and also the whole thing with the mother's like, it wasn't just that, it was like the mother's reaction and the terror, the loss of all joy and happiness in that family before the horror. Like, that is true horror. And that, before I usually don't have to turn off horror movies to continue them later on, but that's what Hereditary was. And the trailer said, the review stuff on the trailer said word for word, you will see things you wish you can unsee. You can't unsee that, but you'll wish you can. There are certain things that movie I can't unsee, and I don't want to watch that movie again. But I will admit it was a horror masterpiece. But it's funny because the scariest part horror-wise was when it's funny because I met Alex Wolff and he's a nice kid, but there was a scene where there were certain scenes that just stuck with me. His brother has Tourette's. Nat Wolff, I met it, the one who's like in Death Note. Like I met them. I know their parents from the Tourette's Association, so I met them back in 2014. I didn't even know who they were. Oh, wait. Nat worked with Selena Gomez and Caroline, and all. I'm like, I didn't even know who they were back when I met them, and now they're like these big. I know their parents, but I don't know them. Polly Draper is their mother, and if you know who Polly Draper is from like The Good Wife, their father, yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, Devin. I just had to go. Like when you made me think of Hereditary with Frost.
No, I love that, and I love hearing this from you and your perspective. Horror is very personal,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people ask you, what's a horror movie or what, but the bottom line is that's a personal answer. What affects you may not affect the next person. What triggers you may not trigger the next person. What brings up feelings of dread or fear or anxiety. That's a different, unique experience. That's why there are so many subgenres under the horror label. And as much as I feel triggered listening to you talk, I'm also kind of giddy about it, because as a storyteller, that's the ultimate goal, is to affect the audience watching your horror movie. If someone's watching a horror movie and be like, then you didn't do your job. Your job is to get a physical and emotional reaction out of your viewer. It's like if you were to go to a comedy show and everyone was just kind of like, then you didn't do your job. Your job is to get that physical reaction, to get that laughter. And in horror movies, it's to get that dread, that anxiety, that fear out of your viewer. And so if you know that this filmmaker, this movie, not only touched on your particular brand of fear, but did it so effectively that you can't watch it again, that to me is the ultimate success story for what is a great horror movie. And it stays with you. You're still talking about it. You're still talking about the emotions that it invokes. That is so effective. Yeah.
To go back to the how people want movies to be perfect or worst movie ever. There's a number of user reviews that you can find really easily for Frost, where they talk about how revolting and shocking and sickening the ending is. And then they give it 1 star. That should be a 10-star fucking review.
Thank you. That's a compliment. Yes.
The point. You're not, if you're cheering on the end of the movie, then you have problems, and you need to be on that ID channel show, Signs of Psychopathy, whatever.
Psychopathy, yes.
Yes. So to me, those are endorsements, because even though they go on and on, revolting, blah, 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 that's the point.
Right. And you talking about Hereditary, like if I hadn't seen it after hearing what you said about it, even though it was technically all like, that is such an endorsement. Like it makes me want to go watch the movie again tonight, honestly. It's I'm sorry. I don't mean to minimize your experience.
Oh, no, you're not at all. Not at all, Devanny. You're good.
I think it's incredible that you're able to recognize that for yourself, and that a storyteller was able to touch on that for you.
And Devanny, what you said at the end, like how the filmmakers releasing the fear, that you made me think of Wes Craven's famous line about horror movies don't create fear, they release it. And you almost paraphrased it at the end.
Yes.
What's it called? You also. What was I going to say? There was another movie similar to Hereditary, which I think if you haven't seen, you definitely should, both of you, because it is one of the greatest horror movies that was able to scar you with nothing more than the atmosphere and the music, or lack thereof, music. It's called The Lodge. stars or Alicia Silverstone,
Yes.
Richard Armitage, and Jaden. What's his name? The one who played Bill, young Bill in It, the new It. Jaden and Martell. He was also in Knives Out. I watched this film now. It had Hereditary vibes. It had, like Ari Aster and Wes Anderson horror-esque vibes. And even if you figure it out, it'll still mess with your head. Like I got like 2-3 minutes in, and I knew this was going to be a dark movie. As brightly lit as the set was, as during the day and the birds chirping, still, because of what happens like 2 minutes in, it's going to be a very dark film.
I love that. Well, I love it too, because I feel like a lot of storytellers, they start in horror. They think it's easy to make, easy to produce. Yeah. And nothing can be further from the truth. Just because you have a dark movie doesn't mean it literally has to be dark. For something scary, doesn't need to be the lights down low. I think the scariest stuff is when you see everything going on around you, you hear everything going on around you, and you still have that sense of dread. That's when a storyteller has got it right. That's when they understand, when they have a sense of horror and how to convey that to your audience.
Well, like for instance, like Midsummer takes place during,
Midsommar, yes.
Yeah, that and there's this feeling of unease when they're walking around in broad daylight at 2 a.m. So it's not about necessarily the aesthetic, but about the story you're telling.
Right. I personally agree with you. I think Midsommar is masterful with horror. I personally hated the film. However, I think as a film, as a horror film, I think it was a masterpiece. As a film, I didn't like it. I know it's hard to explain without.
No, it's so funny because I completely agree with you. Like completely, yes.
Yeah. But like what you said, that's what it was Spiral, the ninth Saw, Spiral from the Book of Saw. It was the brightest Saw film, but also it was a thematic element, like not thematic element. It was a theme. It was shining the light on an issue. So it was almost like what's the word? It was like not analogy. It was a metaphor in addition to being a big part of the movie. But also, even in the scene where, and I've had him on my show, Richard Zapier, who played the cop who was always going to head to. He played what's his name, Fitch, who was always going to head with Chris Rock. I had him on my show with his partner Edie, played by Edie Inksetter, Detective Krause, and he was the one who had in the Finger Trap. And even in the Finger Trap, there's like that moonlight shining right on his character.
Yes.
The moonlight, like almost like an Oculus window right above him, shining moonlight on his character. Like all the Saw films have light, whether it be green light, and you still had some of that, but like you even at the very opening scene, the light is like from a freaking the thing is killed by a thing with lights in the front of it. The guy is killed by a train, which tons of lights in the front of it. But a majority of the movie, like there are even shots like taking place where Chris Rock is interviewing the widow of his friend who's a cop, like, and it is such a beautifully lit, the trees, the birds chirping. People like, I never thought I would see a shot like this, and so you look at it like, and it's crazy how Spiral, I think, though it was his first feature.
I love how much, I love the light that you're shining on it, because I really did think it was extremely successful. I don't think it gets the credit that it's due.
True. It also is the best cinematography. It's the best cinematography of the entire franchise. And the guy who did it, I think it was his first feature. But out of all the franchise, Spiral had the best cinematography, and I love all the films. Spiral's not among my favorite, but it is the most beautifully lit, and the color.
Ending sequence, come on! That ending sequence was
I
know.
So and Darren, you have to remember, Darren directed Saw 2, 3, and 4, and he's big on the color palettes. Like he brought those back, those color palette, the green lights and but because he was able.
Green's supposed to make you feel unsettled,
but he was uneasy. Yeah, he was able to do it even in the brightly lit area, and that's and I really want to see Costas return. I hope he's coming back for the 10th, because I know that's coming out in October. I got my fingers either starved David or sawed off, because I'm Jewish, I'm not Christian. Anyway. I know we're like 20 minutes over. Are you guys good to go for another 5 minutes? Is that okay?
I think
7 for you.
7. Oh my
7.
god.
7. Yeah.
7. Devanny, if you have to cut out early, get it cut out. I don't know. If I was just making a horror reference, that wasn't anything specific. Yeah. If you have to amputate early from the screen, let us know. Trying to, I don't know. Maybe that was. I think that was more of a. What was the movie I just told you I watched with you and Costas recently? That was more of a death count joke. Yeah. Sorry.
Shout out to the Mahals.
Oh, Sonny. Yeah. By the way, I love his stuff, and he's I know him and Costas are buddy.
Yeah.
From what I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah. Sonny and Michael Mahal, who produced that, and also one I've also Bus Party to Hell, and one I've coming up called Alien Storm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Are there any other? Even if you have to go up to 8 or 9 minutes, I'm not a stickler. Even though I'm very punny. Sorry, Jewish. Sorry. Is there any other projects you want to bring up that we haven't that are either are coming up, or any other details you want to relay, or anything specific that either of you want to talk about, or is there anything specific or vague or discreet? I love his
Mr. Slagle.
I can't talk about it.
Oh,
I mean, I can.
But you're not supposed to.
I don't. Yes and no. I just don't want to spoil the surprise. In a couple of months, I'm doing a movie in Asia with one of the main villains from John Wick 4, who had a bit of a breakout.
Okay, that's all you have to say.
Which is now on VOD. Actually, now that you mention it.
What is drug
breakout? No. That's the worst dad joke ever.
I've had worse, believe me.
Anyway, and that's actually really vague, because there's a number of villains in John Wick 4 that were plucked from B movies. So,
all right, this is annoying. You'll have to come back on and just talk about it. My goodness.
Well, I will say, actually, it slipped today. It's not the official press release, but a movie that we did in Thailand called The Flood is coming out in
That's
theaters.
what I was actually referring to. Oh my god.
July 14th.
July 14th. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's awesome.
Yes, the Flood with Nikki Whalen, who's a total badass,
That's I meant.
and Louis Mandylor. And
Louis Mandylor? Who's he?
I don't know.
I
Some
need to check
really,
out his
really cool Aussie.
Yeah. Oh, an Aussie. Okay. Nikki Whalen is an Aussie. That's what I've heard.
I love Nikki.
Costas Mandylor, I've heard, is an Aussie.
Yeah, he's not in this one though.
Oh,
Okay.
that's right.
Yeah, the Flood. It's basically a break out of a prison, but this time there's gators. So
it's Breakout meets Crawl.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a good actually.
I
Yeah,
like that because I fucking love Crawl. I think that's a movie that didn't get the love it.
The effects in that are
had me on the
awesome. Oh my gosh, so good.
And Nikki Whalen is definitely she's really badass. I feel
and really really hot. Like that girl is.
I feel like Kaya also the star of also doesn't get the her performances don't get the love they deserve. Who starred in Crawl, also from Pirates of the Caribbean 5 and the new Resident Evil. That unfortunately didn't take off too well. Nikki, so it's funny because there's like, forget 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. There's like so much less than that because first of all, Nikki worked with Scout Taylor Compton, and then back when they did what's it called?
Halloween 2.
Nikki Whalen was in Halloween 2.
Yes, she's the reporter who's interviewing Malcolm McDowell.
So I forgot about this. She was also in another movie with her, the Flight movie with what's his name, with what's called about the Shinigami doll on the plane. It was and who else? Christina.
Good, actually, I haven't seen this one.
What was it called? It's Flight. Was it? It was basically, and then there was another movie with the same. Flight something. I'll send you the name, but it stars Rosita from Walking Dead, Christian, and what's his name from Dead Silence, a whole great cast.
I was gonna say, how do I not know about this? It's an awesome cast.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
Oh, here we go. Here, Flight 7500. There we go.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you to our co-host.
The trailer, you will not be able to listen to Leaving on a Jet Plane the same way again after watching the trailer. Because it scares it'll give you nightmare. But it was I watched it. It scared me. It was good. But I think also Scout posted again recently. She was doing a movie with her like a year ago, and then Mike Ferguson, who you guys work with and Breakout, he also just did a movie with her. I had Mike on back in January.
Mike's also in The Flood with us. He's also in my film Black Mass, and he's also in Breakout. He's in everything I just did with the Halls, Alien Storm. So he's in everything.
Very prolific, tall, tattooed teddy bear.
Absolutely.
I was gonna say he's a big giant teddy bear. Yeah. And he's also Christina Aguilera's bodyguard. I'm just kidding. No, in her music video.
Is he really? Which one?
She was in a new Spanish one that she is all in all Spanish. I'll send you. I'll send you the link. I had him on my show. We spoke about it. I'll send you the music video. He plays her bodyguard. He's also in Christina. He's also in Avril Lavigne's music video with what's his name. He's
Oh, my childhood, right here. Yeah. Via Mike Ferguson. Thank you.
I'm trying to make it so complicated. I'm really sorry. Okay, so before we cut out, pun intended, is any socials you want people? Oh well, if you want to plug any socials, anything else coming up, coming out, it's in her Facebook feed. He said, Yesenia says, what was I just talking about?
Christina Aguilera.
Yeah. Oh wow, yeah. It was cool. And Mike showed me when I met him at the Appetite for Sin premiere, which I missed you at, Devanny. But it was nice to see you at Halloween Hotness. No, it's okay. We actually had we had a screening the other night. So Brandon.
Shout out to Eva Hamilton too, by the way.
I told Eva to tune in. I don't know if she was able to, but yeah, Eva and I were talking last night and today. So okay, Brandon, you want to plug any social? Not plug. I'm just kidding. Where anybody wants to follow you, Jaguar, any.
It's just my name, Brandon Slagle, but I feel like social media is on the way out.
Selectively, social media.
Yes.
No, it's not. Oh
I'm
my
not.
God.
Yeah,
He's
I don't
on
agree with
social media. Brandon Slagle. He's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We also have an Instagram for, as well as a Facebook, but we don't use those often, for Jaguar Motion Pictures, so you can follow along there. I am on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. My name, Devanny Pinn. You can't spell it, but probably Gabe can, so we'll put it in the comments.
Yeah. I will.
And we might even share a dad joke or two just for you.
Just two?
I have dad jokes daily.
But you can follow them on social media to get them. I can't.
I'm hourly, so I'm sorry that you beat on that one.
You guys.
Just FYI, just so you guys know, one last thing before we head out, I am combining MySpace, Facebook, YouTube with Twitter and make my own social media website called My Face You Twit. So if in case you guys want to join MySpace, Facebook, My Face You Twit. Anyway,
I don't actually. I don't want to join.
Facepalm by proxy. Anyway, this is how I roll. Send Brandon dad jokes. Oh, I'm gonna be sending them to Devanny just so that way you can get them from all following. Sorry, Brandon. So now Devanny can suffer from two ends of the country.
Oh my God! I have daddy issues. I've been in horror movies. I have daddy issues. I don't want any more dad jokes.
I'm not going. I was not going there.
You know who else is big on the dad jokes is Casper. I mean,
I can't escape it. All you guys are ridiculous.
Let's say something. Starship Troopers will always be my childhood Casper. Like Casper Van Dien will always be Rico from Starship Troopers for me. Like some people, Bryan Cranston was always Dad from Malcolm in the Middle, and some other people's Breaking Bad. Even though I watched Malcolm in the Middle first, I don't know. He's just more Breaking Bad. I'm never big on Malcolm in the Middle. I was more bigger on Breaking Bad.
Oh, come on!
Oh, I love Malcolm in the Middle, but Breaking Bad was really the one that I really started enjoying Bryan Cranston, really loving Bryan Cranston's character as much as he wasn't lovable.
If you watch Malcolm in the Middle now, knowing who Bryan Cranston has become, you see glimpses of this incredible actor that was kind of pigeonholed in this role. Like he's a classic Brian Krause style aspect of that. But you see there's a ton of layers into this very simplistic material. And I remember even as a kid thinking, like, this guy could do other stuff.
Well, there
and
was
a lot of comedians, sitcom actors who selectively have had that opportunity, who have done incredible dramatic work.
Yeah. I mean, Robin Williams, and
yes,
you could say Dane Cook.
No,
Mr. Brooks, you liked it. You liked Mr. Brooks.
Good Luck Chuck? Which one?
Mr. Good Luck Chuck was a very thought-provoking drama.
That was a true shout out to Josh Stolberg. You said Mr. Brooks? Yeah,
yes,
Mr. Brooks was
with,
great.
Kevin Costner. He was playing like a serial killer superfan.
Oh, and William, what was it? William Hurt played his father. I think was it William Hurt? That was an underappreciated, also an underrated thriller. Yeah. Hold on. This says have a great rest of the week. Hopping off in less than a minute. Thank you. Love the interviews. Of course, Yesenia.
It's wonderful to meet you, Miss Gomez. Let's keep in touch.
And Catwoman, don't forget to watch The Dawn. Okay, I'm holding you to it. I'm going to call you tomorrow. Anyway,
so she's hopping off to have a string of cat burglaries, right? Like,
oh my gosh!
I will not throw my friend under the bus, but yes.
Because she's a cat.
What? I feel like there's so many whatever, like, but FYI, I do speak fluent in movie references and puns. It's just they're like languages to us. But you guys, at least Devin, you could appreciate the movie references.
Yeah.
Brandon, you could appreciate both. So listen, I told you, what was the other one? What was my favorite? Yeah, I don't mind kids, but I prefer playing with the box it came in, something like that, you know. Or there was what was it? Oh yeah, my wife and I decided not to have children. The kids are taking it really hard. Or I got a call from the school. My son's been lying and he got expelled. I said I don't have a son. The kid's a really good liar. Anyway, on that note, one last one, and then I'll leave you guys.
I don't think I know. These must be millennial references because I don't think I know.
I'm going to leave you guys to it. I'm hopping off too.
By the way, Dev and I are very similar in the sense we're both old souls in millennials' body. By the way, best Facebook bio ever. Just FYI. Anyway, I'll leave.
Thank you.
I'm boomer in a Gen X body.
Oh my god, you're a grumpy old man with dad jokes. I can't.
It's not easy being cheesy. At least Devanny, stop being lactose intolerant. Anyway, on that note, I love you guys. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for tolerating Devanny. Thank you for tolerating, indulging, and enduring Brandon and I. Yeah. No, really, and I spoke to Matthew. I would really love to do an Appetite for Sin, group at some point. I gotta talk to Matthew about it. It would be a lot of fun. It's
a great cast, great group of people for sure.
Yeah, and I can't wait to check out Breakout, and I can't wait to find out more about Black Mass. And I'm gonna check out Breakout ASAP. And please, everybody, check out The Dawn. Check out A Battle for Saipan.
Saipan.
Yeah, there is. But Saipan. And if you really are okay with really over the top horror, watch Frost. I personally, if you know me and know how much I love horror, I'm not watching Frost. So unless you're really okay with the really over the top stuff, watch it. I'm very hit or miss, but if you watch, I would suggest watching the trailer for. I'm not trying to say like don't watch Devanny's movie, but
no, it's absolutely. I would rather people be prepared.
Yeah.
And like I said about some of the reviews that come across as negative, that's totally an endorsement.
Oh yeah,
it is. It's just know what you're getting into, and if you like something a little bit more popcorn, Breakout and Battle for Saipan are great options. The Flood coming out, simple, turn off your brain and enjoy us getting eaten by gators. Like there's other stuff out there too. Depending on whatever dread is your type, we do have a title for you. That's been the overall goal, is always to have something we can recommend. So Gabe has a lot of great.
What is the dread of Battle for Saipan? Is that being trapped on an island with Casper, Jeff, and Lewis?
I mean, that's somebody's dread and somebody's dream. So it just depends on which one's yours.
Well, when Devanny says be prepared, she doesn't mean like preparation A through G or preparation H.
No.
I mean, she means like preparation I through Z. And
Yes.
preparation H ain't gonna help anybody on this
Oh
one.
my God.
Anyway, on that note,
On
guys,
that note,
have a great night. I'm gonna goodbye, everybody. Stick with me for one moment, just another moment after, but I am gonna end the broadcast right now.